Okay, so like definitely the preemption right now as for like Falcon right now wanting to face the long threat and avoid like the fight between like Shino and Kankuro. Naruto calling it like definitely the preemption right now, especially for like definitely tend to consider deciding to like go with like Falcon's like decision and take the long threat. It's definitely the preemption. Like definitely I'm bring like Naruto opposition Falcon right now, definitely bring right now for like Sakura to like shout at Naruto and forcing Naruto to like that way forcing Naruto to like listen to Falcon and that way like I'm sorry like the group of like Naruto, Sakura, and Bakun like taking that long cut. So like I was looking that they like they're taking that much more time to like even be able to like make it to like top yet. While like I'm looking while as for like the fight between like Kankuro and Shino, like I'm definitely predicting like the fight to be like over without much great disturbing for Shino and without much great delay at all. Like I'm looking like Shino quickly or and defeating Shantino reflect the scenario that I'm looking at specific and the deliver things that especially because of like the deliver things is that even like the location where like Shantoro and Shino is even fighting at itself is in the force, which is like extremely advantageous to like someone who controls and uses like buff to like attack the opponent and all that. Like so like be able to find that the that is the thing. Like the location itself would be extremely advantageous to like that I'm looking like with that without much great get at all and without much great delay at all. Like I'm looking or foreign and defeating kinds of like the scenarios that I'm looking and after that like I'm doing straight away proceeding ahead towards where Sauske would have gone to and then those like without much great delay itself like making it to where Sauske would be and I'm looking like Sauske without much great delay itself like catching up to and I was delivering like Sasuke without much great at or catching up to where Temari would be, Temari and Gaara would be, and I'm definitely starting like at that point, definitely I'm sitting to my 10% for like Temari totally at that point, totally like I'm messing with like Sasuke's ego and setting Sasuke would have basically patiently waiting for like so that like Sasuke could like fight Gaara as it is like full sprint. So like I'm like Sasuke waiting for Gaara to like return and that was right then itself. By the time Sasuke would be catching up to where Temari and Gaara would be like at that point itself like I'm thinking Sasuke and Gaara returning to like the point where like Gaara would be starting off as like extremely long Sanskrit transformation leads to threatening of the server. So like at that point, like I'm looking at Sasuke finds like interrupt that, but like I'm looking at that point would be when like Samari would be like messing with like Sasuke, he go and breaking Sasuke into that, making Sasuke wait for like actually like complete like long Sanskrit transformation leads. So it's like the scenario that I'm doing. So like while this would be happening, like I'm looking and Sasuke would be waiting. Like I'm looking would be when like I'm looking that Shino would be showing up there with like the scenario that I'm doing. And Shino would be totally confused at seeing like Sasuke not fighting Gaara and like just waiting there. So and seeing Gaara like performing some sort of like a basic. So like definitely at that point I was like trying to like confuse like either asking Sasuke what he's doing or like straight away like launching some sort of like an attack towards like Gaara. But like I was going straight at that point since like I'm thinking like Sasuke like using his like attack to like stop attack and Sasuke at that point like a full just face like telling that basically especially since like just now that I think has told something about like wanting to like complete this like during like some fight against like Kankuro, which he couldn't fight against like Kankuro like to make sense. So like definitely I was during Sasuke as well using that same dialogue and saying that same dialogue to at that point that basically like Sasuke fight against like Gaara and like between like some was like interested so like literally Sasuke won to like complete that fight against Gaara and fight and also they just completed but like Sasuke telling at that point that like Sasuke wants to like fight Gaara at like Gaara like actual to full strength. So like I'm looking that's why Sasuke is like waiting along the lines of this what Sasuke would be telling and Sasuke would be uh and I'm looking at that point so that totally agreeing to like Sasuke. At that point, like the scenario that I'm looking. So like that way I'm looking like and Sasuke would be like waiting for like Gaara to like complete like long Sanskrit transformation jutsu with like Shamari as well with like the scenario that I'm looking for. And I would bring Hindi during this time that I'm looking for like as finally like the group of like Naruto Pakun as well as like Naruto Pakun as well as like Sakura to be finally making it towards Sasuke will be this like one possible scenario that I'm looking like the other possible scenario that I'm looking for like maybe. even before that, I'm looking like as like Naruto through that long cut, like I'm looking like through that long path, like as like Pakun and Sauske and Sakura and Naruto would be like slowly making their way, trying to like slowly make their way towards where Sauske would be able to maybe of like another positive, but like even before Naruto and others would be able to make it towards like Sauske and others, and maybe that Sanskrit teacher who was like fighting off against like the against like the second referee of like the student exam, while Satya had gone off Chitla for like the initially like I'm that by now maybe that Sanskrit teacher I mean like the Sanskrit teacher Ninja might have taken the life of like that second referee of the student exam, and things along with like a bunch of like with like Sanskrit ninja might be like might have head off to basically to capture Sauske for like Orochimaru's definitely like a part of like the like assigned by Orochimaru to like the Sand Village to capture Sauske. Will be definitely one of them. Certainly one of the ambitions role. It could be just like helping like the Sound Village attack like the village alone, but like definitely there might be also orders to like for like the Sound Village to like help the Sound Village capture uh, combination and Orochimaru like capture this definitely one of those. So like I'm gonna maybe that as well as like talking to that another thing that like after like defeating and taking the life of like that second factory of like the chill next time like I'm looking maybe like that teaser of like the Sam village as well as like when the other family of like athletic group would be like watching towards like the forms towards like soft so like I'm looking maybe them even catching up to words like Naruto, the group of like Naruto, uh, them slowly running into like the group of like Naruto, Bakun, and Sakura, then before making it towards like Sasuke. So like I'm sure maybe they are like another battle happening between like the group of like Bakun and Naruto and Sakura versus like the group of like that sandwich feature and like the other sandwich ninjas. Like maybe to be interested in three versus three battles or like about the so like I'm thinking like maybe through that battle like I'm looking like in that battle I'm looking maybe Naruto's team like maybe like struggling against like the team of like the sandwich and maybe at that point I'm looking but maybe after my showing up there along with like chicken or so also like seven what would be that and everything. So like anyway like it would be finally that that fight would be over and then maybe it would be only after that fight would be over that like like Naruto would be finally able to like make it towards like the first kill would be and by then like like Gaara's like long and for transformation would be almost over. So like like at that point like sitting to my preparation that like Naruto telling Sasuke as to like what he's doing and like Naruto telling Sasuke about like I can see wanting Sasuke to like return or something and at that point like Sasuke refusing to like listen to like Naruto and Sasuke telling them that like he wants to fight his like ultimate complete his like ultimate to next battle against like Gaara and all that. So like at that point I was thinking like most likely Sakura shouting at like Sasuke about like how like Shikamaru had to like uh as to like basically them not even sure as to like even Shikamaru's alive or not. And like Shikamaru's like bold and daring sacrifice kind of like an attempt to like basically just so that like they could save Sasuke like Shikamaru doing all that and they believe once like Sakura doing that to like Sasuke like at that point like I was thinking maybe like Sasuke okay feeling bad as for like the situation with like Shikamaru and all that. So like I was thinking maybe at that point like Sasuke willing be finally be willing to like listen to like Naruto look and deciding to like head back. But like I'm just gonna write and itself like Naruto. I mean like Gaara's like Sanskrit long Sanskrit transformation Jutsu would be finally over. And the transformation of Nagara into this grand, scary, like Sanskrit form, like happening at that point. It's like, and like the fight between like Sasuke and like the giant Sanskrit form of Nagara happening at that point is like the scenario that I'm experiencing. Straight away itself, like I'm just going like it was just like Sasuke straight away would be like struggling against like the giant Sanskrit form of Gaara. So like that was the thing in like basically uh, Shino as well as like Naruto and group, like all of them like really trying to like stop Gaara at that point. It's like also like an Indian possible scenario that I'm looking at the points and answering. And that's like only one possible scenario that I'm looking at. And that's the possible scenario that I'm looking at for like maybe by the time Gaara would be come finishing and completing it, like, that transformation do so. Like maybe even during that point, that and Gaara will be transforming into like the giant transform. Even then, like I'm thinking maybe like the other possibility that I'm thinking maybe even at that point it's just being like Sasuke and Shino alone that will be there, wasn't there. So like Naruto should still wouldn't have made it to where Sasuke will be. So like I'm wondering maybe then like once Gaara would be transformed into like the giant transform, like the fight happening and basically Sasuke seems to be struggling against like the giant transform and like Shino. So that the best will like help Sasuke out, but like even Shino as well is struggling and then Gaara like giant transformation form like basically totally badly injuring Shino and sideline Shino and then like basically badly injuring Sasuke and like as like the giant Sanskrit form would be like about to take Sasuke's life. At that point, maybe like Naruto showing up as like that hero savior, and that way like Naruto protecting Sasuke. Most likely with like Naruto straight away making his entrance through like the Yamabunta sword of like Naruto blocking like the giant Sanskrit form of like Gaara's like massive like punch or like kind of like an attack which might have like the power to like basically take Sasuke's like so like at that very last second like Naruto showing up with like the Gamabunta sword and like the Gamabunta sword like basically blocking that attack of like the giant Sanskrit of Gaara and that way Naruto taking Sasuke and then from that point on and from that point on, like Naruto taking over like the fight against like Gaara, and that way from that point on, like the fight between like Naruto versus like Gaara, the giant and the form of Gaara, like basically happening at that point. This is like the scenario that I'm going to bring in. It's like Naruto, with like the help of like the Gamabunta code will be like eventually most likely shooting like a water gun like attack from like eventually figuring that out, and then this is like definitely I was very like what would be like sand the sand powers of Gaara, since like Gaara's like powers are also and like weakness that will be what the flame of the brimstone that is sitting on. So like I'm maybe like the Gamabunta code of Naruto. Even though even that would be that, but even then Naruto just struggling against like Gaara. Still eventually like Naruto, the Gamabunta code like or like Naruto coming up with the strategy to like basically to like bring a whole lot of like water from like a nearby lake and basically the Jamabunta town like shooting out like water gun towards like the giant transfer form of Dara and that will be the point where like the one side is kind of like a fight to jumble to be the case between like when Naruto versus Dara will be like that whole uh tables will be like changing and basically uh like the fights will be changing and basically like Naruto will be slowly starting to like offer and bring down the Russian spirit from like all that happening from that point on and like that way like Naruto finally finding his way into the King offer and defeating like Gaara's like Jansen spirit form while fighting alongside like the Gamabunta codes like in the scenario that is going on in Korean. Also, like the name of the story I'm watching right now as like the fight between like Shino and Kankuro like about Shino and Shino bringing out a great number of bugs would be definitely Shino is like this much strategy definitely on the premise. Until like a totally trick and outsmart and was definitely on the premise. So like bringing out like on great number of on the like arms like I'm referring that really totally to have like Kankuro's like attention like for attention and focus solely for on the butt in front of him in like on like Shino's arms. Just like Shino would be definitely able to sending to like attack Kankuro's definitely able to resist. So I'm definitely like the scenario to be like Kankuro like using his like puppet master suit so to like that way Kankuro using his like puppet to like basically to protect Kankuro from all the bugs that like Shino would be sending out to like attack Kankuro. But like this would be where like like ultimate master plans would be where like Shino's plan from right off like the bat like from Shino's battle against like Kankuro itself would be to like basically use this way like distract and keep Kankuro's focus on like only on the bug that will be right in front of Kankuro. While since it's like they are fighting in like the forest, like I'm considering like since like Shino is able to like would totally be able to not like communicate and control, but like I'm exactly Shino like stealthily while fighting off against Kankuro, like Shino stealthily communicating to that or the great number of bugs that will be present within like the forest extreme range of bugs that will be presented in that fork. So like I'm bringing forth those great number of bugs as like control with only focused on like the bugs in front of him, like I'm bringing all those great number of bugs like basically slowly appearing from behind and basically and creeping up on like Kankuro's body. And that way, like I'm looking like maybe affect the possibility of that, maybe taking Kankuro's life. It's also like remote possibility that I'm looking either taking Kankuro's life or like I'm looking that it would what to be like maybe like some kind of like a specific kind of like but this would be having like the it would be having the power that like if that bug by like I'm looking like the person would be ending up being paralyzed, is like or like temporarily paralyzed, or like paralyzed for like a long time. Would be like the consequence, like the possibility that I'm looking. So like I'm leaning more towards the possibility of like not taking control of life, but like I'm thinking like that way, like using his like using like for specific parts from like the force, like I'm looking probably paralyzing control, and then heading off towards like the to make it towards like stop cases like the scenario that I'm listening and my information. Also, like the name of Graham right now, like Sauske right now, making it to our like Tamari and Gara. It's like I'm referring maybe for I'm referring for two purposes. One purpose maybe exactly like a friend like basically how like Tamari would be like being like the one to like basically to like maybe sound or like basically challenge Sauske to it like if he dares to like face off against Gara at the like full potential by allowing by waiting and allowing Gara to like complete his like long and spirit transformation so that like a subject could like actually face off against like and know Sarah's like so strength. If subject does like that will like subject Tamari challenging subject and messing with like subject ego. And presenting a like subject deciding to like getting overconfident and basically deciding to like wait. It's like only one possibility that I'm discovering right now. Because like I'm discovering like especially with like Jara right now, like like moving Tamari causing Tamari to like kind of like lose consciousness. Maybe like Tamari might have lost consciousness. So maybe I'm considering the scenario also to be like the other possibility that I'm considering is maybe right now like start with that maybe the other possibility that I'm considering right now is like maybe Gara right now, the bad legs of them and panting Gara like maybe right now like trying to like attack Sasuke, but like Sasuke easily dodging Gara's like attack and like Sasuke easily would be like with like such ease Sasuke would be able to like dodge like Gara's attack. And then possibly like at that point like Sasuke would be like seeing Gara like he's struggling and possibly like at that point like Sasuke stopping deciding to like not attack Gara and like Sasuke at that point that's getting overconfident and like Sasuke remembering how like Sasuke while Sasuke had used like his like Chidori attack like to next time Gara was like trying to like perform some sort of like an ultimate change. So like I'm looking like Sasuke maybe that remembering that and like Sasuke telling getting overconfident and Sasuke himself telling Gara to basically complete that long sensory transformation into of Gara. So like and Sasuke telling Gara that like he wants to like fight Gara as his like full strength. So like bring out the most strong ultimate of Gara that Gara was trying to like bring out back at like the twin and stage. So like I believe that with Sasuke like being like the one to like give Gara the time and opportunity to like basically perform and complete this like long sensitive transformation issue. And that way, like I'm looking, once like Gara would be finally completing it and transformation into like giant and spirit transform form. Like at that point, like I'm looking like Sasuke regretting like allow Gara to do that and basically like Sasuke realizing like so million regretfully realizing that like Sasuke had gotten more confident is like the other possible scenario that I need to know this thing right now. And for right now, I'm not looking to read and correcting right now. Also, like definitely today I'm listening right now. I got like a feeling that Saskia has like the same eyes as that of Gara. Like I'm looking this exact thing might have been like the source factor that might have also been like the very first time that like Sasuke and Gara had seen each other. While since back then it wasn't like even like the presence of Naruto as well. Like the fact that like Gara was totally not interested in Naruto and like the fact that Gaara totally ignored Naruto while Gaara like the very first time that Gaara had even seen Sasuke like Gaara all of like Gaara's attention was like solely on Sasuke alone and not on Naruto. So precisely because of like even way back then like the very first time that Gaara had seen Sasuke then like Gaara might have totally, not only Gaara, but like the Sanskrit within Gaara, like that spirit, Sanskrit that went within Gaara might have specifically recognized like the eyes of Sauske. Even way back then, it's definitely my brain as like having like it being pinned up to Gaara, it might have been what might have happened. But even way back then, it's definitely my brain. Like with like Gaara right now, even saying that basically Satya like that he's my like what Gara would be trying to say would be like it wouldn't be just like Gara alone, but like definitely the Sanskrit as well would be like together trying to say that they really that Satya that they both would be feeling that like Satya is like Gara's clone, like that would be along the as like Gara's like ultimate rival or like as like Gara's clone, like the very exact same as like Gara, and that would be like so extremely disturbing and like frustrating for like the Sanskrit and Gara is definitely my favorite. The Sanskrit and like the Gara that's being controlled by like the Sanskrit, like for them like it would be extremely frustrating because like the like like definitely not for like Gara to feel alive like definitely like the past like what Gara might have done might have been like Gara might have like whenever Gara might have in Gara's journey whenever Gara might have seen someone who from Gara's point of view Gara might have felt as like challenging or threatening to like Gara like understand like Gara might have always ensured to like take their life not for like the Sanskrit and I was bring which is mostly like the control of the Sanskrit over Gara and definitely like Gara in actuality might be like a genuine good person with definitely member. It might be like the influence of the Sanskrit that might be causing like Gara to like act out in such an extremely realistic manner, especially when the So like I was wondering like Gara being controlled by like Sanskrit, like I was wondering that Gara would be like would have eliminated anyone and everyone along like Gara's like journey and path in life so far that like Gara might have felt as like challenging or threatening. That might be that fact that would be like the only thing that might actually make Gara keep alive, especially when the even while Gara has like taken the life of all sorts of like people like like it might be only when like Gara would be taking the life of like the people that would be feeling like threatening as like challenging to like Gara from the strength that like it is only at that point that Gara would be actually feeling alive in a realistic manner, especially my position. So that might be the case with Gara. So like right now with like Gara, just like Gara feels like so much of like a similarity in like Sasuke. And thus for like right now Gara would be like for extremely desperate to like take Sasuke's life because of like that extreme similarity that Gara would be feeling in like Sasuke towards like Gara certainly like the thing. So like I'm more than ever Gara would be right now desperate to feel once again feel alive. It's definitely not the but then I'm considering like that similarity in like I feel in like Sauske and Gara. It's like Gara's like Sanskrit sabers like sense like I'm like that would be most likely due to like exactly like how Gara feel like Gara would have to like uh, take the life of like the people that Gara would be the Sanskrit would be feeling as like threatening or challenging. Not for like Gara and Sanskrit to feel alive might be the case with the Gara situation. So like I'm looking like the similarity in Sauke's case would be like in Sauke's case like I'm looking like until like Sauke takes the life of like Itachi like I'm looking like Sauke from Sasuke's mindset as well to be like the very same where like Sasuke not for Sasuke to feel alive like Sasuke would be like that would be what like Sasuke would be feeling and that Sasuke would be feeling and Sasuke's mindset as well that they believe that in order for like Sasuke would be like laid down the sprite to like feel alive and in order for Sasuke to like feel alive like Sasuke will have to like take the life of Itachi and get revenge on Itachi for like taking the life of like the for wiping out like the entirety of like the Uchiha clan including like Sasuke's parents as well. Actually it would be like that might have also taken like Sasuke's parents like as well. The dilemma of the Rainmaker. So definitely like Sasuke would be like the desperation within like Sasuke to like basically get revenge and take the life of Itachi would be actually due to like Sasuke being desperate to like feel alive because like Sasuke would be suddenly what Sasuke would be believing would be what that like actually should be only at that point that Sasuke could even feel alive. It's definitely my very impression. So it would be that desperation within like Sasuke to like feel alive. That would be that driving force of like Sasuke. And that sort of Sasuke to like take Itachi's life. It's definitely my intention. This would be that actual core like actual true like similarity between like Sauske and Gaara, that like Gaara transcript would be able to like sense through like Sauske's isolationality. It's like also like a possibility that I'm considering I'm as a 300. Okay, so like definitely not 300% right now as for like the Shino in which like Shantaro's like puppet has landed like a ninja blade on would be most likely Shino's clone and not like the actual Shino's. Definitely the portrayal. So like the actual it would be all part of like the actual Shino's strategy to like only quickly create and still create a clone and basically Shino might have distracted Kankuro with like the clone and as if like the clone and might have been sitting on like the clone might have only collection of owners might have only put on a fake act as if like it's hiding while like Shino might have consciously done that so that like while being in full awareness that basically that Kankuro would be like totally eventually noticing that Shino that's like that clone of Shino that's like hiding while thinking that's like the real Shino. So definitely while like the actual Shino might have by now not only gathered up all the bugs, danger and paralyzing kind of like bugs is what I'm also from like that cost. And I might be right now itself like I'm looking like the scenario to be like as like with like Kankuro's like ninja blade landing on Shino like I'm looking right now itself like Kankuro shortly finding out that like that Shino is like a clone. So like at that point itself like I'm looking exactly the scenario to be like Shino like showing up from behind Kankuro is like the scenario that I'm putting. Just like a whole lot of that bugs have been uh, like rolling up on like Kankuro and Kankuro maybe like only realizing that the bugs have made it to the actual Kankuro only at that point. It's also like the scenario that I'm referring as of right now. I'm at the frame. Okay, so the definition of real estate right now that is which is like Kankuro's like using only a single puppet master and basically is like even controlling that single puppet master with like only one of his like arms alone like maybe for like Kankuro, if it is like Kankuros have that limited range of like only from medium to like long range to like control his like puppet master and those different like since like Kankuro has like this weakness in like close combat like I'm referring definitely Kankuro maybe I'm referring scenarios in like Kankuro maybe like overcoming that weakness by creating like a clone of this like puppet master that way like controlling two puppet masters like also like about into that just like both puppet arms where like one puppet master would be like the main actual true puppet master would be like taking charge of like basically take charge of like the medium and long range attacks of like and while preparing like the second clone puppet master which I'm preparing maybe kind of initially you have like a squad you will be creating will be like set up very close to like the control just standing and moving to or to like take that like second puppet master like taking charge of like the of like defending and protecting control against like close combat it's like also like an example of scenario that and that way like Kankuro using such a strategy to like keep himself protected from close combat as well as that long range attack and everything. It's also like a such a strategy and Kankuro using it like a possibility that I'm not sure about it and not sure. Okay, so like definitely very 300% right now as for like Shino right now, fearing it has inhaled like the poison smoke of like the puppet of like Kankuro is it only like fake acting, it's definitely not a criminal. My personal impression that is something on this basically that like, even that as well would be like a clone of Shino and not the original Shino. So like I'm going Shino we're only putting on fake acting while being like with this clone by being well fully aware that like Kankuro would be like hiding and like watching how Shino is like acting and reacting is definitely not right. So like I'm doing like Shino right now. Definitely I'm wondering when exactly Shino might have created like a bunch of this like clones. I'm wondering might be maybe might have created at least two of the sports also like about that and it might have been that Shino might have done that in like the very beginning of Shino fight against like Kansura when Shino had basically hit himself in this like forest in this like fight in like the beginning stages of like the fight against like Kankura at that point like while fighting like Shino might have quickly and swiftly created like a at least one at least two clones of what I'm looking for while hiding in like the forest. So like I'm looking like that might have been Shino's strategy by the time like Kankuro would be finding Shino like I'm looking Shino's strategy might have been to like create like at least two clones and to hide one clone in like the forest and for like the actual Shino as well to like hide somewhere else in like the forest and to only have like the second floor alone like still be hiding and staying in that very same position for like and waiting until like eventually Kankuro will be finding that floor out. Might have been like maybe fragile definitely memory. So definitely that way like I'm looking for like even right now like in like the present like it will be still another clone of like that might have like inhaled a bit of like that poison smoke of like Kankuro's attack. Definitely my memory. So definitely I would bring right now Shino like totally put on a fake acting as if like getting affected by the poison smoke and everything while like the actual truth would be like even away from like all that poison smoke and basically would be watching everything Kankuro was doing and like like even as well like I'm people that right now for like scenario to be like as a clone of Shino like getting on the fake acting as in, like is he getting affected by the poison smoke. So like at that point like I was like uh Kankuro like basically coming out of this like hiding from like the from that Kankuro's like the advantageous position that Kankuro has taken by due to like the voice of smoke where like Kankuro's hiding like Kankuro at that point coming out of it to like basically to take out like Shino thinking that would that Kankuro has won and like would be able to like right now fully take out Shino but like at that point when I'm looking like the audience would be like appearing from behind Kankuro and would be that would be the point where I'm looking like it would be game of course like Kankuro like the scenario that I'm looking into. Only at that point that Kankuro you're realizing that like that was all like like the clone of Shino's like fake acting. That's it. Like Shino had been like uh, had inhaled like the poison smoke and everything. It's like the scenario that I'm looking right now. Not friends. Okay, so like the level preemption right now as for like Sato is attempt to like take away Orochimaru's like soul like I'm going to be totally explaining like the scenario that with like Sato is right now struck with like the snake soul of like Orochimaru the player but like Sato's body will be giving up. And it's like on Sato is right now it's like the scenario that I'm doing with me like Sato is like extreme old age and extreme exhaustion and on top of like that like coupling all the adding all that with like the power of like Orochimaru snake sword and the combined result would be like it will be resulting in like Satobi's like body giving up on Satobi and that way Satobi right now could be died and that way solely due to that like Satobi not being able to like take away like the soul of Orochimaru like the scenario that I'm looking for right now. So like that way like definitely Orochimaru will be getting freed. So like I'm right at that point I'm totally still thinking to my personal version for like the more likely possibility that I'm looking for is for like right then itself like the Grim Reaper like will be trying to like take away like Satobi's soul along which would like Satobi's soul along with like the soul of Ep74 as well as like the second Hokage that Satobi has sealed within like Satobi's like body like I'm looking like the Grim Reaper and the trying to take uh, all these three souls together. It's like the scenario that I'm looking at. By just taking part of his soul, like I'm looking at like those souls of like the first as well as second Hokage as well. Definitely I'm looking like the Grim Reaper trying to take all these souls and I'm looking like at that point I'm looking like Orochimaru like fearlessly like using his like reanimation due to at that point like Orochimaru simply won't be like willing to like basically just keep up like all that souls to like the Grim Reaper. So like I'm looking at that point like Orochimaru like totally bringing out this like using this like reanimation boost quickly and then like using that like I'm looking for like Orochimaru like taking away like that those three souls or like I'm looking like most likely maybe like the single soul of like stuff I mean like the scenario or like I'm looking like the scenario to be like Orochimaru most likely like won't be able to like even if like Orochimaru like a reanimation due to like I'm looking using force definitely I'm looking like in a forceful manner like Orochimaru I'm looking definitely not being able to like pull steal away like the swords from like the Grim Reaper as like Grim Reaper only taking shadow swords from Satobi. But like I'm looking like the instead like strategy I'm preparing Orochimaru at that point would be using would be like a strategy of tricking like the Grim Reaper. So like I'm doing like Orochimaru using some sort of like a different to like totally distracting and tricking like the Grim Reaper as like the Grim Reaper would be trying to like take all three swords within like Satobi's like the scenario that I'm doing. That way like I'm like Orochimaru tricking the Grim Reaper into that distracting like Grim Reaper and like I'm doing like Orochimaru at that point and taking advantage of that situation to like quickly trying to like take all three swords within Sarutobi. But and I'm looking like the first sword that Orochimaru would be like taking would be that of like Sarutobi. It's like the scenario that I'm in. So like quickly Orochimaru using that point using that the reanimation to quickly taking away Sarutobi's like sword and falling and I'm like using the reanimation to like I'm like Sarutobi would be like a zombie even though at that point, like Sakabe would be alive, like Sakabe would be like a zombie at that point, like the scenario that I was in. Using the reanimation to do so, like the zombie that will be controlled by Orochimaru, the reanimation will do at that point, like the scenario that I'm doing. So, like using the reanimation to do Orochimaru quickly bring out like the coffin and like I'm like quickly like Sakabe going into that coffin of not the reanimation to do and like Orochimaru stealing that coffin quickly, like the scenario that I'm doing. And then like I'm like Orochimaru would be quickly once again, using the reanimation will be trying to also take away, like, bring out two other tokens and like will be trying to like also take back like the source of that as well as like the second Hokage as well. But like I'm doing at that point, definitely I'm doing like Grim Reaper totally like the distraction strategy totally failing at that point and like the Grim Reaper totally noticing at that point. I'm sort of the Grim Reaper feeling extremely angry and like the Grim Reaper at that point trying to like attack Orochimaru. So like I'm doing like Orochimaru getting scared and Orochimaru like tactfully and skillfully like managing to like barely dodge that attack of like the Grim Reaper. And that way like at that point like the Grim Reaper leaving into like the realm of like the Grim Reaper like and the Grim Reaper at that point leaving while taking away those two souls of like the fox as well as like the second Hokage. It's like the scenario that I'm looking. Yet like I'm sort of like the Grim Reaper and the Grim Reaper at that point will be like realizing that it has got tricked by Orochimaru. So like I'm looking like an extremely angry man or like I'm looking like Grim Reaper will be heading back to its like and Grim Reaper's real while like that absolute threats at that point will be formed within absolute threats and that absolute disaster like get revenge on Orochimaru and take Orochimaru's life. I'm looking that that absolute disaster will be how like I'm looking like at that point like the Grim Reaper will be like returning back to its like Grim Reaper real. Definitely I'm looking sort of living on the same rhythm right now and like the struggle between the Orochimaru and Sasuke or like Orochimaru's soul like I'm the maybe of like individual scenarios where like I'm like not for like Orochimaru to like not lose his soul like I'm looking like Orochimaru maybe using like a strategy or linguistic strategy where like I'm looking like and even the scenario where like I'm looking like maybe Sasuke will give me to like absolute everything and will be slowly like overpowering even or still even overpowering even with like the conditions after this still manage like barely or tomorrow and like to the start of the at that point will be taking more and pulling more and more out like Orochimaru's soul out of Orochimaru's body. So like at that point maybe like Orochimaru using his like final strategy, realistic strategy were like Orochimaru at that point because like would be saying like Konohamaru's name. Like because like I'm like Orochimaru would be well and fully aware of like Satobi had no grandson Konohamaru. So like I'm maybe at that point like Orochimaru totally realistically looking Satobi in the eyes and telling Satobi that like if Satobi doesn't let go of like Orochimaru's soul, like then like Orochimaru would be making Konohamaru face like an extremely suffering that is like the scenario that I'm looking. So like when Orochimaru says that like I'm at that point like I'm Satobi will be getting shocked. And like at that brief moment, like for that brief moment, I'm from Satobi losing his like focus as like on as like a Reaper sealing jutsu as like Satobi will be like getting would be like cheering in on like the pulling out of the soul from Orochimaru and then that like temporary loss of like focus uh of like Satobi resulting in like Orochimaru being able to like take advantage of like that situation and basically Orochimaru quickly like overpowering Satobi and that way like Orochimaru being able to like get back to soul and like at that point like I'm looking like with just a single attack using like the snake sword and like Orochimaru like taking out Satobi at that point and Satobi dying just like getting into the scenario that episode on like and my very immersive. Okay, so like I'm so right now with like like single arm alone like transformation to like the sensitive transformation would be like right now would the power of Gaara would be like only like a small fraction of like the true power of like full actual power of like Gaara like ultimate actual sensitive transformation. So it's definitely not very ambition. So definitely my consideration that like the hindrance right now would be happening solely due to like the Chidori effect of like fast like basically interrupting like that Sanskrit actual full Sanskrit transformation due to back during like the June exam. It's definitely one of the reasons. This might be the potential reason for like the Sanskrit doesn't Gara like for me struggling to like fully take over Gara's body and like to be that ultimate actual true full Sanskrit transformation form which would be what like might have turned into while taking the life of that one of like that sound relation ninja before right before like the two next up uh, final phase of like the two next up began is like my memory. So like I think like right before like that 1 month period of like the final uh, soon next file based of introduction to what I think. So like I'm assuming like definitely there will be currently that like hindrance within like for like that transfer to like unleash out its like full power to have that full to transform the Gara fully into its like actual output and transformation form. It's definitely my dream. So like I'm like yet even with that fraction of current fraction of like the Sanskrit transformation itself, like I'm looking like okay, kind of struggling to like a certain extent with like the scenario that I'm looking. Yet like I'm looking like after like a certain great struggle, like I'm Sauske still once again bring out his lecture story and I'm looking like definitely I'm looking initially Sauske okay overpowering once again overpowering Java is like the scenario that I'm looking. So like at that point, I was like the Sanskrit in like Gara getting like extremely angry and frustrated, and I was like that rage of like Sanskrit resulting in like maybe one more limb of like Gara getting the Sanskrit transformation like scenario that I'm in. So like I'm thinking maybe like once like the other arm of Gara as well at that point like getting transformed into like the Sanskrit transformation. It's like the scenario that I'm doing that way. Like I'm instantly yeah, and are having like a seriously sharp increase in like strength and sharp case seriously struggling. Um, once again, seriously struggling against like Gara's strength, increase in strength, and that point is like the scenario that I'm doing. So like the cinema of the impression right now is that basically or like it to only be finally one that by the time like Shino will be defeating Kankuro and Shino will be finally making it towards like where stuff will be that I'm going it will be at that very instant itself like that I'm going like Gara would be finally would be able to like transform into get over like the resistance of like the Chidori and like finally that the Sanskrit would within Gara would be able to like finally transform into its like actual full through uh, giant Sanskrit transformated form is like the scenario that I'm looking. So that like at that point, even with like Shino showing up like I'm looking and Sasuke and Shino like basically working together and trying to like stop like the giant actual Sanskrit transformation form of Nagara still I'm looking like the combined effort of like Sasuke and Shino as well like I'm looking like them both like seriously getting overboard and definitely seems even struggling to like not only just keep up or like but like to even survive against like Java's like giant Sanskrit transformation fully transformed like then Sanskrit transformations form like typical scenario that I'm going to bring I'm pretty impression right now. Okay, so like definitely no preemption right now for like making it impossible for like Kankuro to like notice perfect would be only like the starting point. It's definitely the preemption that I'm going to bring like those bugs of like that the brand definitely would be like so special and extremely tough that the brand like it would be like even if entering like the joints of like the puppet the brand like would be like still like with like using it's like puppet would be using all of its strength to like move like, the joints of like the puppet still like I'm looking like all that force won't be able to like still crush these bugs in like the joint because like while like the bugs by itself like by just a singular one itself like would be seriously tough. So like I'm looking like but with like while these bugs up together like I'm looking they will be so stringed up like I'm looking so to be like unique kind of like stuff that will be so stringed up that I'm looking like even with like pulling with all of its like strength like I'm looking like still like the joints of like the puppet won't be able to like crush like the bug. It's like the scenario that I'm looking so like that will be how much tough like the bugs themselves would be because like I'm looking definitely there will be like Shino's chakra involved in those bugs that as well definitely I'm looking would be like the main factor in like those bugs not being able to be crushed by Shino by like Kankuro's like puppet. It's also like a possibility that I'm looking so definitely I'm bringing from this point on, I'm bringing like the scenario to be like those bugs like I'm bringing like right now. sending that unmovable puppet like I'm doing like on top of which like I'm doing right now will be sending more and more bugs and I'm doing like those bugs right now that eating up like the puppet is like the scenario that I'm doing. So like I'm using those bugs like I'm doing like right now eating up and like destroying like the entirety of like Kankuro puppet is like the scenario that I'm doing. That way like Kankuro won't be able to like do anything at all. Like won't be even having his like ultimate puppet anymore. Like if that being destroyed, like it will be just all by himself to like fight. It will be like Kankuro all by himself to like fight up against like just like saving the scenario that I'm in. So like that way itself like at that point it would be like game over for like Kankuro. And like would have already defeated Kankuro at that point, like the scenario that I'm considering. And yet, like I'm considering, like Kankuro won't be like would be like do everything in his power, will be willing to like even sacrifice his life to stop So like I'm moving that resulting in like the feeling forced to like basically in order to like stop Kankuro, like I'm considering still I'm considering definitely won't be. I'm being more just about the like not taking Kankuro's life, but like I'm considering like most likely uh, using one of the like specific kind of bugs to like probably like to fight Kankuro and causing paralysis to like Kankuro, like change scenario that I'm sitting on to and my good remember. Professor, the view of reimbursement right now is for like the heads of like the puppet crow right now, not being able to like send out his like ninja blade. And she knows like the scenario that I'm doing, and the reason would be like I'm doing like she know might have not only that sense is like wants to like block like the joints of like the puppet crow, but also might have simultaneously at that point itself like might have also sent a bunch of bugs to like basically close up like the hole in like the puppet crow's like head from which like the ninja blades are sent out. This definitely not the reimbursement. So like that way, like I'm looking like right now, like the bugs would be like totally expecting like the path of like that hole of like through which like the ninja blades come out in like the head of like the puppet crow. It's like the scenario that I'm looking. That way, like I'm looking like even that strategy as well of like a Kankuro totally failing like the scenario that I'm looking. That way, like the puppet crow or the Kankuro totally being useless, ended up being used in like the scenario that I'm looking for and my looking impression right now. Okay, so let us give a impression right now. Again, like the puppet crows that head the center boys and they stopping right in front of like Shino. So this was the middle of like Shino most likely having figured like which exact chakra thread is like attached to like the head of like the puppet crow, which like Kankuro was like controlling to like have like the head of like the puppet crow like sharp towards like Shino. Like Shino might have figured this out right at that very last second, and I'm like Shino might have straight away quickly ordered like sentry ordered like this like bug to like basically cut off like bite and eat and cut off like the chakra thread connecting to that all the chakra thread connecting to that exact puppet crow head might have been what might have happened if you remember the reference. So like that way like I was like the puppet crow head might might have stopped right now right in front of that it's definitely what might have happened is definitely memory. Okay, so like definitely memory so right now that's for like how exactly would be surviving like the full body poisoning like I'm the like it's most likely through like but definitely memory since like I think like it has also been revealed that like but they eating like body like I'm the one like the little bit of this reason like I'm the like right now using his like remaining chakra like I'm seeing those like badly poisoned and badly exhausted like I'm the different like what with like the right now we barely conscious so like I'm just like with the little time will be having right now because of the next like using this like remaining chakra to like control all of the like bugs like the entirety of this bugs and I'm like like calling out all of that the entirety of this bugs and like back to his body and so like that way I'm looking at the entirety of like bugs like entering his like body and ordering them to like spread throughout the like entirety of like the body and basically it will be that will be like totally controlling like the bugs at that point that's definitely my opinion. So like definitely controlling and making hopefully maybe making like the entirety of this bug like basically just spread throughout like entirety of body and like making the bug like throw out like the poison in each and every single corner of like body is like the scenario that I'm looking for. So like the entirety of like those are like either the majority or like the entirety of like the current bugs that like great number of bugs that like have like about all those bugs dying and basically like that way saving is like the scenario that I'm looking at. So like because like I'm looking at controlling those stuff using this like chakra power definitely so like that way like totally controlling then that or like the majority of the funds to like basically to throw out like the poisons from like the entirety of like body and basically all the bugs or like the majority of like the ones of died in the place of and basically that way solely due to that through such a manner like surviving is like a possible scenario through is like I'm looking at like how might be surviving like the poison is like the scenario that I'm leaning more towards rather than like someone finding like someone from like the legal is finding and that treating and saving, is my good remedy. And so like according to my good friend, for like, using his like bugs to like survive, like poisoning, like the scenario that I'm looking at that point, I was like, would be like, even though, would have survived, like, would only being that disease, first of all, would be like only feeling bad about like basically like him taking the life of like the bugs that definitely would have formed like that kind of like maybe to a certain extent was like kind of bond with this like but especially on the thing. So like a bit only maybe feeling bad about like sacrificing bugs for him to like survive. It's also like about the that I'm doing. But like I'm just like would be once again quickly returning back to like the present and like the situation and then like straight away like feeling that urgency to like basically go up to Sauske and help Sauske out. But like I'm looking at that point with like the scenario that I'm bringing for like at that point with like losing all of the parts like I'm doing maybe feeling that basically if straight away goes up to Sauske would be like won't be able to like help Sauske out in like the battle without having any of its bugs. So like I'm also very yet like since like just in like in like the middle of like the box like I'm also like maybe at that point like deciding to like find a new set of like an entire army of bugs with like the scenario that I'm doing. So like from that force like only finding a huge army of like a new sets of bugs which would be way stronger and dangerous than like the previous set of like bugs that like had used as like good weapons. Definitely we can like to see use the set and new army of bugs will be a lot more stronger and like danger like will be a lot more stronger and dangerous than like the previous bugs. But like the scenario that I'm into like finally finding them and calling them out using like like skills for like building calling out searching and calling out for like all those bugs and like basically like the bugs are responding and like then controlling all of them and basically like creating an army of like a new set of like bugs and basically then with those bugs like I'm looking like heading off to find Sauske like that is the scenario that I'm able to really and my playing. Okay, so like the single thing, so right now as for like Camaro being so extremely scared of like what might be like Gara like only partial sensitive transformation set like I'm especially because of like the trauma that like Damari will be having it should be also like a trauma that like not only Damari but like Kankuro as well might be having from their younger days, especially when Bremerton because like I'm doing like both Tamari as well as like Kankuro as well as Gara back when they were sort of like I'm looking like back then, like I was feeling like someone that might have been like extremely precious and close to like Tamari as well as like Kansuro. Like I was feeling like maybe like after like I was feeling maybe like after like the Kalsigadian might have definitely it might have been like the Kalsigadian himself that might have taken the life of like the of his wife like basically like the mother of like Gara as well as like Tamari as well as Kansuro to basically to basically have the to basically create like the transcript and basically to put like the transcript on to Gara might have been what might have happened. Especially the grammar so like I'm like after that like I'm like after like the law of like the mother like I'm like I'm going to bring maybe like Kankuro as well as Temari might have found some other woman as like which they might have been seeking comfort on as like a mother figure. Especially my as like a motherly figure, especially my frame impression. So like back when like Tamari and Scanturon might have been children, like they might have been so extremely fond of her and might have been calling her, might have started to even call her mother. So like I'm looking like, and it might have been not just them, but like I'm looking Gara will maybe might have been that calling her mother back then. So like the three of them might have been so extremely fond of her, and I was like she might have taken good care of all of them. But like I was looking like usually what might have happened to be like at some point like I was looking like some sort of like maybe something that like she might have that mother figure something that she might have not consciously said, like she might have just carelessly said with not intending to like hurt anyone, like she might have said something that might have triggered like the spirit within Gara. So like I was thinking that maybe that might have resulted in like the first spirit transformation happening to like Gara. And that might have happened right in front of like Kankuro as well as Temari. And like that way at that point I'm looking like that might be like the first time that Kankuro as well as Temari might have seen like as well as like Gara might have had this like very first like sensory transformation like happening to him might have happened during then especially in the Lutheran and like the most like giant sensory transformed form of Gara might have taken the life of that woman might have been what might have happened and that like the extreme trauma of like and shock of that might have never left for like Kankuro as well as Temari and might be them present within them even to like the very present day, definitely never connection. So like this might be the precise reason for like Tamari right now totally having that extreme change in like body language and being so extremely scared of Gara right now and hiding right now. It's definitely not the prevention because like seeing Gara like the most like even if it might be like only partial transformation of Gara that might have happened right now. Like I'm going to even just see that partial transform side of the right side, like it would be like bringing about all that trauma and like that memory from like the childhood of like Tamari, which like Tamari, it would be like the last thing which might be causing like Tamari to be like right now be so extremely scared and afraid of Tara right now. It's definitely what might be happening right now. It's definitely and what might have happened in like the past. Definitely my very and present right now.